So, Esther, seized with deadly anxiety. I am not really an anxious person. I tend to be a lot more relaxed, semper gumby and all. So, I wasn't really sure how to approach today, just because I don't understand that level of anxiety. So, I wanted to ask you, having lived with anxiety in your life,
Yeah.
uh, what my kind of go-to uh, as to try and empathize with it is to just think extreme nervousness, and I know that that's not exactly true. So, how would you describe your anxiety?
There's a couple. I mean, you've got panic, which like the panic attacks, which out of nowhere it just feels like I'm going to die.
Okay.
Like, okay, I'm going to die now. Like, pit in my stomach, dizzy, lightheaded, can't breathe. Tingly arms. That kind of thing. It feels like all the signs of having a heart attack,
Okay.
and it comes out of nowhere. Usually it's when I'm out and about, but not necessarily. Sometimes it's just whenever. But it literally feels like I'm going to die.
Okay.
Um, so I take medicine, and I don't feel like that anymore, and that's a good thing. Because it would get to the point where I was not wanting to leave the house. It was affecting work and that kind of thing. So, to generalize anxiety is hmm, extreme nervousness is kind of vague, but it's more of just the constant feeling of Murphy's Law
Okay.
of well, everything's going to go wrong. Well, there's no reason to think that way, and that's why medication helps because you can't. It takes away some of the physical aspects of the worry, which is nice.
With that Murphy's Law, I mean, that combined with the social anxiety, I mean, I imagine that that could be incredibly debilitating. Um, is it a situation where you maybe talked yourself out of things in life?
Oh God, yes, everything. Now it's not as bad because again, medication, and also because I don't have a choice but to do the things I have to do. Like if it was just up to me, I wouldn't, go to therapy once a week and all that, but it's not for me, it's for the kids. So it helps me get out. I find that if I have to do things, I will do them, but obviously, but no, a lot of anxiety really it made it hard for work because you're in retail, especially at Hastings, where it was just I really struggled back then with anxiety, and this was before I was on medication, or I was on a break from it basically, and I didn't like him out of the office. I would come home and I would just sleep. I would drink to go to sleep. That kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I would not go to parties or not hang out with people. And this has been for years. I didn't want, I would leave places early. I didn't like to go shopping. I didn't like to go to the movies. Movies used to be a big trigger for anxiety attacks.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Um, they still are, but it's a functional. Like, I can distract myself enough to be like, okay, not a big deal.
Is that even when we watch movies together at home?
No. It's like movie theaters.
Oh, okay.
And stuff. Though some movies do trigger anxiety attacks for me. That's why I tend to not. I like lighter stuff. Action light action movies, comedies. Heavy stuff can trigger anxiety attacks.
Gotcha. How much did your mother, running a bookshop for a while, and the volume that you read, how much did those kind of fantasy worlds actually allow you some form of escape would. And to follow up, were there any? I mean, I don't know of any characters that are represented with anxiety in modern fiction. So, is there anybody that you kind of identified with that helped once you knew?
I never really thought about it. Even most of the stuff that I read, like a lot of the movies I watch, tend to be lighter. Now I've gone through, I'll go through phases where I'll read heavy stuff. I mean, I read Milan Kundera and Albert Camus and all this other stuff.
You're gonna have to spell those things later when I type this up.
Surprisingly, they're pretty phonetic. But,
Okay.
um, well, Camus is not just French, but Algerian French. But for the most part, especially when I was really struggling with like either depression or anxiety, I tend to read romance novels or humorous biographies, just stuff like that. Um, so mental illness really isn't a big factor in historical romantic fiction. you know,
Fair enough.
it's kind of it tends to be. Yeah, when your entire life, like when I was working at Hastings and whatnot, is stress and depression and anxiety, you're
Bless you.
thank you. Your escape methods tend to be light, fluffy things.
Gotcha.
But yeah. And it's not just that I enjoy like comedies and all that stuff to avoid anxiety. I generally just like it. But like heavy, dramatic stuff, thrillers, that kind of thing, used to trigger anxiety attacks.
Understood. Anything else you want to add on this? I mean, you basically have it's not a huge platform here, but you have a small little soapbox on which to go. Hey, what do you wish other people knew about anxiety?
It's one of those where I think now that some people are aware of it more, and a lot of people are very open about struggling with it, etc. Because back when I was in high school and college, people didn't really talk too much about it. I didn't realize that so many people really struggled with anxiety. And I just thought I was nuts. And it's a shitty feeling. Because, I didn't know that people had panic attacks. I mean, I knew that somebody did, clearly, because it was a thing. There's medicine for it. But I didn't, I didn't know friends did or people I went to school with. It's very isolating to think that there's nobody that goes through this.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the hardest things about any kind of mental illness, probably, is just it's a very isolating feeling. And now I think it's really good that a lot of people are willing to open up and talk about it more. And it's like I've always been open with my doctors and stuff. Hey, I struggle with anxiety. I struggle a lot less when I take medicine for it. Medicine it's like if I had diabetes, I would take insulin, or anything like that. So medicine makes, it doesn't make me feel different or amazing. It just makes me feel like normal, which is nice. I'm really tired, so I'm worried I'm kind of going off on my little tangents. Um, but no, I am glad it's becoming more to the forefront, which is a good thing. But I hate when people who don't really understand anxiety are like, "Oh, what do you have to be nervous about?" That's not helpful. Or, "Oh, don't worry about that." It's not how it works. It's like with depression. "Oh, don't be sad. What do you have to be sad about?" That's not the point of it. This is a chemical thing. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
And obviously there are certain times when if I'm under a lot of stress, I'll have anxiety more, or like I'll be more nervous or anxious about stuff. Take away some of the stress. Oh well, the anxiety lessens. But not necessary. But especially if I'm off medication or something like that.
There's always kind of a baseline level that it
Yeah.
would. It's one of those, it can escalate for sure, but you never really go below this unless.
Yeah, like things like going to Kroger's are really difficult. No reason. I mean, it's not like I feel like something bad's going to happen to the grocery store, but it's just really hard to do it. I tend to become not. I hate to say agoraphobic. That's because I mean I can leave the house. It's just terrible. And that's when I knew, medicine was the right call for me, going back on, Zoloft because, oh, I can, go to the store and function in society and talk to people relatively well. Medicine doesn't help awkwardness, but it does help that almost buzz in the back of your brain of,
Were you anxious when we met?
oh yeah. I mean, not just because of you and I was constant. I mean, anxious. Oh, I mean, yeah, Hastings really was hard. That was when I probably peaked. I mean, it never turned off.
Gotcha.
So I went back on medicine, quit my job, and felt much better about the world.
Amen.
That place sucked.
Also, amen. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mike.